He invited a few friends over for a barbecue, and that's where it all began. He acted without a moment's hesitation. While I could hardly fathom what was unfolding, my body reacted fiercely, making me feel as if I was on the verge of losing control. Greetings to everyone who follows this channel. I understand that many of you might judge, criticize, and even condemn me by the end of the story. However, I must admit that I deeply regret the incident. My name is Sophie, and I've been married to Gabriel for 3 years. Despite being a young couple, I'm 26 and he's 31. The beginning of our relationship was simple and unremarkable. We worked together at a pizzeria. I was a waiter and he handled deliveries. After dating for a year, we decided to tie the knot. And we've always had a very strong bond. The trust between us was mutual, and respect for each other's space always helped us avoid unnecessary arguments. Since I was very young, I have always been a more introspective person. And when it came to intimacy, shyness always dominated me. But everything changed after Gabriel came into my life. He always showed patience and helped me deal with my fears and insecurities. At first, our intimacy was calmer, but that was not for lack of effort on his part. Gabriel has always had a desire much greater than mine, which I believe is common among men who seem to have such ideas from an early age. Over time, my lack of will weighed on us. He always wanted to try something new, while I just wanted to rest, lie down, and sleep. I even invented headaches just to avoid any approach. It was then that he suggested some ideas to warm up our relationship. The first was to buy some toys. At first, I didn't like the idea, and it ended up generating an ugly argument between us. I asked Gabriel if he had lost his mind, thinking I was anyone he met on the street. My words touched him deeply, and he never mentioned the subject again after that day. But on reflection, I realized that maybe I was being too harsh. I decided to give his suggestions a chance. After all, he just wanted to improve what we had. We decided to go to a specialty store together. Even though I felt a little embarrassed at first, I soon became more comfortable. I was surprised to see the huge amount of products available. That market should certainly move millions. We spent quite a bit of time exploring the shelves, and finally, I chose a little toy that vibrated. Small, discreet, almost like lipstick. Gabriel didn't seem very pleased with my choice and commented, "Love, look at all the stuff you've got here. Are you sure you want to take just this? How about we grab some more items?" I then told him that he could choose whatever he wanted, that I trusted his good taste. A wide smile appeared on his face, and he left excitedly, exploring the store. In the end, we chose body eyes, some lubricants, and even some costumes. When we reached the last hallway, I came across several dentures of all sizes and colors. This was completely new to me. I had never seen anything up close. When I turned around, I saw Gabriel holding a black prosthesis. I couldn't hide my surprise and shock. That object was huge. It seemed almost the size of an arm. Between nervous laughter, I asked, "Love, who is this for?" He, all confident, replied, "It's for you. Relax and trust me." I decided to give in. After all, we were there to find a solution together. We paid for the products and returned home full of expectation, especially Gabriel, who was overflowing with enthusiasm. Their animation was so evident that anyone could notice it as soon as we got to our apartment. We wasted no time, opened a bottle of wine, and prepared some snacks. I was excited and somewhat curious about the new toys we had purchased, however. The enormous toy Gabriel picked lingered in my thoughts. It was perplexing how he effortlessly embraced it, especially with its daunting size and color. As time went by, we laughed, conversed, and drank. This experience felt like it was strengthening our bond even further. Before I continue, let me remind you to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We frequently share spicy stories which are often amplified by the effects of wine. Something within me shifted. Intriguingly, I found myself increasingly curious about the toys we bought. I called Gabriel and suggested we head to the bedroom to explore our new purchases more thoroughly. We unpacked everything, removed the items from their bags, and examined the products. But my attention was riveted to that prosthesis. The intricate details were astonishing: veins, shapes. I couldn't fathom how it was possible. It seemed like an unimaginable feat. After several minutes of examining that prosthesis, we opted to continue with the experiment. Gabriel, ever so attentive and caring, gently asked if I was mentally prepared. I wasn't, but my body seemed to crave this novelty. We began kissing passionately, and the wine helped to dissolve any insecurities. Gabriel's demeanor was something I had never experienced before, holding me tightly and kissing me like I was the most desired woman in the world. As he kissed me, my eyes couldn't take them away from that huge toy. I kept thinking about his size. He must have been over 22 centimeters for sure. Compared to the toy, Gabriel was not small. But that object was completely different. Huge. This was messing with me, and my mind began to fill with insane thoughts. Unable to resist, I asked Gabriel to take the toy. Surprised, he asked, "Which one, my love? You want to get started on that already?" We didn't even get off to a good start. Without thinking twice, I told him to get the biggest one, the wine, and the desire had taken over me completely. Gabriel, without hesitation, took the prosthesis, placed it in front of me, and suggested that I touch it. Feel the material, understand how it worked. When I put my hands on it, the size difference struck me. My hands could barely wrap it around. I was squeezing and exploring the details, and it was driving me crazy more and more. Laughing lightly, I asked Gabriel, "This can't be real, right? I doubt there's anyone with something that size. It is simply impossible." He laughed and then denied it, saying that such men did exist, and that if I did not believe it, he could show me. Confused, I asked him how he would do it. Gabriel, still looking amused, got out of bed and went to get his cell phone in the living room. When he came back, he sat down next to me and started showing me some adult videos. We watched it together, one after the other, and I became more and more surprised and stimulated. I had no idea that men of that kind of size were real. The videos that intrigued me the most were the ones that involved more than one man. Seeing two men with a single woman made my mind slow to places I never imagined. Gabriel realized how much I was getting involved, handed me my cell phone, and kept teasing me. I was already completely overcome with excitement, something I had never felt this way before. As he came down, kissing my skin closer and closer to where I wanted him, my eyes were fixed on that huge toy that was on the bed. I decided to take the initiative. I took the toy. Gabriel immediately noticed what I was doing, but without losing the rhythm, he continued kissing me and touching me with an intensity that left me more and more on the verge of delirium. I tried to put the toy in my mouth, but it was too big. It barely fit. I had to open my mouth wide to finally get it. When I managed to fit in, an incredible feeling took over me. It was a perfect combination of stimuli, and I shivered for a few seconds, reaching a point of pleasure I hadn't felt in years. The play didn't merely stop there. Instead, my surrender was complete, leaving me with an unstoppable urge to try that toy in an entirely different manner. My readiness was undeniable, my body automatically reacting. I requested Gabriel to utilize it on me, and without delay I passed the toy to him. He started by gently rubbing and pressing it against me. Soon the initial part slipped inside, creating an intense sensation. Like it was expanding me beyond what I imagined possible, but at the same time it was too good. I've never felt anything like this before. Nothing I've tried before compares to this. We spent a few minutes trying to get the most out of the toy, but it wasn't easy. Seemed like it just didn't fit right. It was then that Gabriel suggested using a condom. We didn't have one at home since we're married and never needed it. I mentioned that it wasn't essential and suggested we could postpone it to another time, but he strongly disagreed. "Hold on," he said, hastily departing to make the purchase. He didn't even bother wearing slippers. While Gabriel was away, I continued engrossed in my phone, watching videos. The scenes grew progressively hotter, and as I watched those actors, my body's response intensified. Everyone's incredible talent only heightened my excitement even further. My curiosity piqued at how women in the videos managed 23 or even 4 men of that size. The notion of using the toy solo, in Gabriel's absence, thrilled me further. I resolved to attempt it alone, thinking if they could, so could I. I set the toy upright and gradually lowered myself onto it. This time it was effortless. The first part came in easily. In a few seconds, I was almost all inside, and the pleasure quickly overwhelmed me. Without much thought, I began to move faster and faster, as if I were riding something without stopping. Within minutes, I climaxed, but as many women know, we don't have to stop there. I continued to enjoy that moment for quite some time, until my body finally gave in to fatigue. I threw myself on the bed, completely exhausted, staring at the ceiling, unable to move. It was only after a few minutes that I realized that Gabriel was taking longer than expected. The nearest pharmacy was 5 minutes from home. As tiredness and the effect of the wine overwhelmed me, I couldn't resist and fell fast asleep. When I woke up the next morning, I was scared, looking for Gabriel. When I turned around, I heard lying next to me, sleeping peacefully, and the room was spotless, as if nothing had happened. I got up early in the morning and decided to take a shower. As soon as the water hit me, I felt the after effects of the previous night's wine. Memories of last night's wild escapades started flooding back. How did I let myself get so carried away with that toy and those videos? Remorse started creeping in, but another part of me found the whole experience quite thrilling. Sometimes introducing something new can light up a relationship. In the weeks that followed, our days were spectacular. We made love almost every day, trying on toys, costumes, and everything. I found myself more and more involved, wanting more and more. Lust began to take over me, and it ended up consuming me. I came to think that that toy might be even better if it were real. My internet searches have become more and more explicit, and I found myself addicted to watching adult videos. I wanted to experience that in real life at least once. My mind couldn't stop thinking about it without feeling guilt or remorse. I knew I was wrong about Gabriel, but deep down, he was the one who awakened this flame in me. I could no longer control my desires and those thoughts that invaded my mind. Everything fell apart when, without planning, I transformed my thoughts into actions. Let me be straightforward with you. It wasn't something I planned. It transpired spontaneously because I was vulnerable. I couldn't resist. This happened about 1 month ago, when my husband got a promotion at work. He had been working hard to win this new position, and when he finally got it, we were immensely happy. We decided to celebrate with a barbecue at home. At first, it was supposed to be something just between the two of us, as we always made a special moment to celebrate his achievements. But Gabriel suggested that we call some friends to celebrate together. I agreed, wanting to make the day even more memorable for him. While Gabriel welcomed his friends in the living room, I stayed in the kitchen taking care of the preparations, seasoning the meats, and organizing everything. As soon as I finished, I went to the balcony where everyone was gathered. When I reached the door, I came across Gabriel's group of friends. There must have been about 10 people, all men, but 2 of them in particular caught my eye. They were tall, dark, and with a physique that would impress anyone at the time. My mind automatically compared them to the men I used to see in the videos I was watching. The resemblance was uncanny, and it began to awaken in me a desire I knew I shouldn't feel. When Gabriel introduced me to them, I discovered that the 2 were cousins. I felt a warm flush come to my face as I tried to conceal my shyness. The night was delightful, and with the passage of time, I gradually grew more comfortable. Everyone was drinking and enjoying the night. We spent hours talking and enjoying until little by little people started to leave. In the end, it was just me, Gabriel, and my 2 cousins. Gabriel, already completely drunk, could barely stay awake. Worried, I asked Douglas, one of my cousins, to take Gabriel to his room so he could rest. Meanwhile, I stayed on the balcony with Nathan, the other cousin, tidying up. The silence between us was palpable, but my mind was elsewhere, full of thoughts. I couldn't stop remembering the videos I'd watched recently. The situation I found myself in was eerily similar to the scripts for those scenes, and that began to make me uneasy. I wondered if another opportunity like this would arise. Were they really attractive? And that awakened in me a forbidden desire. Doubt started to flood my mind. What if something went terribly wrong? What if they rejected me or, even worse, told Gabriel everything? I knew it could completely ruin my life. Seeing my anxiety, Nathan worriedly asked if I was okay. I responded that everything was fine, just feeling a bit exhausted from the busy day. Nathan suggested that I sit down and relax, and then poured me a generous glass of wine. We started talking as he finished tidying up the balcony. Soon after, Douglas returned and commented that Gabriel was asleep as a rock and that no explosion would wake him that night. Natan, noticing that I was still a little tense, suggested that I relax more and mentioned that I could do massages. He offered to do one, especially on my feet, and I, a little shy but also curious, accepted. After all, what could a massage do? We went into the living room, and I sat on the couch, took off my shoes, and he started massaging my feet gently. His touches were firm and accurate, just what I needed after such a tiring one day. As Natan massaged my feet, our conversation flowed naturally. Then Douglas, sensing the mood of relaxation, offered to help me relax as well, saying he could massage my shoulders. I laughed and accepted, with Natan attending to my feet and Douglas working on my shoulders. I was enveloped by two serene and skilled individuals whose presence was soothing. The sensation was incredibly invigorating. Their touches were so perfectly synchronized that I felt progressively more relaxed and at ease. The underlying tension among us was apparent, though it went unspoken. Slowly their gestures became increasingly intimate, and the conversation gave way to silence. Only sighs and looks laden with desire filled the environment. It was clear that the two of them were just waiting for a signal from me, so I decided that I didn't want to let that opportunity pass by. I looked first into Natan's eyes, then into Douglas's, and in a whisper said I was ready for something more. If they were too, the 21, not very surprised, agreed without hesitation. What happened next was an explosion of desire and passion. A moment I never thought I'd experience. That night would change everything for me. I never imagined going through something like this with two men at the same time. Natan stopped massaging my feet and started kissing them lovingly, his hands sliding gently down my thighs as if he wanted to feel every movement of my body. He noticed my reaction, and at that moment, a wave of excitement took over us. Touching me gently, realizing all my excitement, went crazy without hesitation. He soon tested me by putting his mouth as deep and as possible into me. Douglas, who was behind me, leaned close and whispered in my ear, making my skin crawl. "Can you handle two?" And he started sliding his hands and mouth down my neck, making me shiver absurdly. His hands touched firmly between my blouse, which at this moment he put everything he could into my mouth. It was like I was reliving what I had imagined with the prosthesis. More unimaginably better. I felt control of that situation in my hands, and without hesitation, I guided Douglas until he relaxed. Lying on the couch, I sat on him, letting him enjoy the proximity as our movements adjusted in perfect harmony. Natan approached and stood holding my waist. That's when the connection between us intensified, and for minutes I saw myself in a movie like that. The feeling of power, of being intensely desired, was beyond description. The proximity increased, and the environment seemed to carry a unique energy, where touches and kisses mixed, creating an enveloping atmosphere. For a moment, I thought I heard a distant sound in the hallway, but I was reassured that everything was fine, that there would be no chance of Gabriel waking up after all the wine he drank. The hours that followed were marked by an almost perfect harmony between us, after many biting sessions. Pulls, deep breathing, a desire, and accelerated and synchronized rhythms. We reached the climax, and it was as if time had stopped, with a feeling of fullness taking over the environment. I felt the most powerful and desired woman. Crazy. But who said I didn't want to be crazy in that moment? That night, I gave myself completely, exploring all possibilities with the two of us. It was an experience that left me in ecstasy, something I never imagined I would live through. That was something I can't put into words. After everything was over, the two of them got dressed and left, leaving me alone on the couch. I stood there thinking about what had just happened. I turned to look toward the room, where Gabriel slept soundly, completely oblivious to what had happened there. And in the living room, it was then that a wave of guilt and regret swept over me. I loved my husband, and I betrayed him in such a cruel way. It was never part of my plans. I got up slowly and went to the room. I lay down beside Gabriel, who was calm, not knowing anything. I felt a lump form in my throat, and I spent the whole night unable to sleep, tormented by my thoughts and the possible consequences of what I had done. When the day began to lighten and Gabriel was still sleeping peacefully, I made a firm decision. I would never cheat on my husband again. The guilt that weighed on me was suffocating. Gabriel didn't deserve that. He was always an amazing husband, and I knew I needed to be the wife he deserved. I got up and went to take a bath, letting the water wash away, at least for a few moments, the shame and guilt that consumed me. When Gabriel finally woke up, I was already made up my mind. From that day on, I promised myself that I would be faithful, and that would honor the love we built. The experience of that night lingered as a haunting and faraway memory, imparting a significant lesson. I never betrayed my husband again, striving to be the wife he truly merited in every way possible.